Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am back with part 2 of the Simon Says January 2018 card kit. Just showing again what was included in the kit. Of course, I'm halfway through all of this stuff already, but some great papers, great stamp set, stickers, they're puffy, delicata ink pad, envelopes. You actually got about 5 envelopes, and you actually got 6 sheets of cardstock. One of the cardstock colors I did not use, and it was the aqua color. So craft black, dark red, dark pink, and a light pink. So I have already done, as I said, this is part 2. Part 1 was already completed. I'll make sure that I'll link down to that in case you missed that. So for card number 6, I am going to use some of the cutouts that came from the pattern paper. And I'm also using my scalloped dies, both from Lawn Fawn. Matter of fact, I think both sets are. It's a square and a rectangle set. So I cut 2 squares and, of course, 1 rectangle. I'm going to use some of the paper that I used before, the teal or aqua color with the polka dots, and then I'm using the one with the roses. And I'm just going to set that up onto a scrap piece after I used my Avery Elle scalloped border die, and just wanted that to come off the edge. So just an accent piece. I am going to use my 4 1/4, 5 1/2 top folding card base, and I chose the craft. So this piece is actually cut to like 3 by 4. So I'm going to set that up into the upper corner. I use the pink delicata pigment ink just to ink around the edges of the white blocks that the sentiments are going to sit on top of. And here I'm just adhering them down again, just to give it some color, give it some pop, so to speak, so that the stark white just isn't sitting on the card. I mean, I'm okay with that, but I always feel it's missing something. So I'm placing them up onto these, and now I'm going to put some foam squares in behind because, you know, we've got to have dimension with everything. So we're going to prop them up. And then I'm looking at the craft. I looked at the card base, and I just thought it needed something as well. So I'm using one of my Nuvo blending brushes, which I think are great. And I'm just applying some of the delicata pink color down there. And it's there. This bottle that I'm using here is just water and two large scoops of perfect pearls. And I just shake it up every time before I use it. And I sprayed it on this. So the camera's not going to pick it up, but when you really tilt this card, you can really see the shimmer on the card base. It's really pretty, actually. So I'm going to use some fun foam, and I'm going to pop up this panel right on top of all the glitter that's going on down there. And I'm going to position the sentiments that I chose. Now, the 3 that I chose is the top one says, I like you. The middle one, of course, is the ampersand sign. And then the bottom is love you more. So, of course, I'm going to arrange these. Almost started adhering right off the bat. We would have had some issues. And now I'm going to adhere them into place. You'll see that after I adhere the long rectangle, that's only 1 layer of foam squares. So actually I needed to put a second one on the bottom, which I was able to do. I didn't push that down. And I fixed where the and sign is, just to put a little piece behind that as well, since it was coming off. I grabbed my Spectrum Noir glitter pen, and I'm just going to coat the sentiments from the paper pad that we chose. And then, of course, my love of these sequins, the iridescent sequins from Desiree. I believe they are the 5M and the 8mm that I have mixed in there. And I'm just going to set these throughout. I'm going to accent the sentiments. I'm going to put them in the flowers. And we're just going to scatter them all over. So there is a lot of glitter to this card. It's just not wow in your face. It's a very soft hint. So for this one, for card number 7, we're going to do some, let's just say it, lots of inky going on here. So first I'm going to stamp the sentiments. I'm going to use those, the little black ones. So for those I chose Favorite, XOXO, Bunches, Kisses, Love, Adore, and Hugs. So I'm going to be using the heart stamp, and I have 4 different shades of Stampin' Up! Inks. They will be listed below. I believe it's Blackberry Bliss, Real Red, Cherry Cobbler, or no, not Cherry Cobbler, but Rose Red, and then a Powder Pink. So basically we're going to do a variegated heart layer here. So the first layer, of course, I'm using the darkest red. I just have that going along the bottom, and I want to go off the card. I'm not quite sure how big this panel is going to end up being. I'm now stamping with the next color. So that next line is just going to sit. I don't want the hearts to be perfect. I want them to be crooked. I want to make it look like they're falling, so to speak. So when it comes to this ink pad here, the last 2 ink pads, and I was getting ink all over the place, I would do 1 layer with the first generation, the initial inking of the stamp, and then there was another line that was done with the same ink, but I did a 2nd generation, which is what I'm doing here. Again, 1 ink pad, depending upon its color, has the opportunity to give you 4 to 5 shades of that color, and depending upon what you're stamping. So here you can see I'm doing the 2nd generation of the pale pink just to fill in the top. And you can see when they overlapped, we've got a darker shade, which is something that I really liked. So this die that I used is from Waffle Flower, and it's one of their border dies. And I just was attracted to it as I was, usually when I do these videos, I gather up all the supplies and dies and everything else just so that they're sitting around me so that I can just grab them. I always find something else to grab. And for some reason, since this had a heart theme, this die just came to me. So I liked the opened edge with the holes. And what I'm doing here is I'm using my jute twine. Again, find it in the jewelry section. I get mine at Joann's. And I'm actually going to thread this through these holes. I'm going to go in and out and go around all 4 corners of this panel. Now, we're not going to show you everything of that. So, yes, here we are at the end because you all would have been asleep by now. So here we are at the end. Once I get to the end, since I didn't start it out correctly, so the tails are to the inside, we're just going to tape those tails to the back of the card base. Because eventually there's going to be a piece of foam that's going to be positioned right on the inside. Now, just so you know, the part that's coming up, there was one of my viewers had asked, I guess when I was tying my bow in part 1, I made it really quick, or I really edited it, because you all know that I am horrible at tying bows. Except if I do it this way, and I have awesome luck with the jute. So I'm actually going to show all of that as we get to that point. So just bear with me. It actually goes pretty quick. I got on a roll with the bow. So as you can see, fun foam rambling there. So here comes the bow. So I just used 2 strands of it. I pull it around my index fingers and I tie a bow as if you would after you tie the half knot first. It's just the bow part that I'm doing. So my index fingers create the loop, and then I just cross them over and I pull it through the hole. I hope that helps the viewer that wanted to see this. If not, let me know, and I'll make sure I'll do another one using this in regular speed, or I'll actually talk through it. So anyway, back to the video. So I'm using one of my glue dots to adhere the bow down into the corner, and I'm just going to trim it. And now I'm going to adhere the sentiments that we stamped like these are conversation hearts. You know, just into certain ones. Yes, we have an odd number. And just set them there so that, and they're sitting the same way the hearts are sitting as well. So it looks like it's either in a jar or they're falling. I'm using the Nuvo gloss drops in Morning Dew. And I'm beating the card. Yes, I beat my cards. And what's really fun with this is when they dry, they actually turn the color of the ink. The ink went up into the gel. So I thought that was really cool. Use the Spectrum Noir just to accent the sentiments. And that is card number 7. Card number 8, I could have done so much more with it. But just to do, you know, just using paper, just using a stamp, using the stickers. We don't have to have multiple layers that sit on our card. So I just used one of the sentiments, I really like you. I'm going to use my heart die, and I'm using a scallop die that I had in my stash. Hopefully I can remember who this is. I did a bad job storing all my stuff before I decided to do YouTube. So I try to do as much research as I can to figure out what these are. I believe it's Sizzix. So I just cut out the scalloped, this open-end scalloped die from one of the cardstocks. I'm using my blender brush again from Nuvo, and I'm putting down some of the pink Delicata ink down onto my black 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding card base. And then the white heart is going to sit on top of that red circle. Once I have that circle in place, I realize that the foam tape isn't coming over far enough. So we're just going to add a little bit more in the background, just so that can sit even on the card base. I'm also going to prop up the white heart. I'm going to make sure that there's foam squares going down the one side, and then I'm going to use my liquid adhesive up onto the red. We're going to trim off that edge so that it's even with the card base. And then we're just going to embellish with the puffy stickers that came into the kit. Just adding one of the rainbows, and I add one of the hearts. And then we're just going to do a little bit more stamping with in the stamp set. It came not only with the larger size solid heart, but it came with this size heart and then one even smaller. So I'm just using those two just to accent along the black cardstock, and then I'll do the same thing on the white heart as well, just to accent that, just to pull in that color. And that is pretty much all I did for card number 8. So for card number 9, we all have a nemesis card. Well, at least I do. This was mine. I was going in one direction, and we totally went into the other. So my idea was to put the score tape down and then to stamp in between that. So we decided against that. So now I'm using the score tape. I made the panel smaller, and I'm using the glitter on each side of this piece of cardstock, and the score tape will hold it. Once I burnish, and a viewer will laugh at that, when we burnish that down, onto the tape. And what's really neat is when these glitters are so fine, they actually go mirrored like when you do that. So that's something that I really like. Realizing that I'm not going to stamp in between these two sections, I just wanted to cut the panel in half. I'm still thinking maybe, okay, we'll still stamp. We don't. So I'm going to take that pattern paper with the X's and the O's and the hearts, and I'm going to adhere it so that the glitter stands out on the sides of this pattern paper. It took me forever to get to that decision. So we're just going to adhere it on both sides. And then once that's set in, and it's about, this is almost taking up the whole card base, which is again 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So really this panel total comes out to be about 4 inches by 5 1/4. So that gold, you're only seeing about 1/4 of an inch on each side of it. Once we have that adhered, we're going to trim off the edges. And then I just grabbed a piece of cardstock from my stash that kind of matched the aqua in the pattern paper, and I cut 2 hearts out. I'm going to adhere this panel down onto the card base with my art glitter glue. And then I'll be adding foam squares to both of these hearts. So we'll have double layers for each of the hearts. So after the first one's set, we're just going to set the foam squares onto the white one. And then we're going to center that on top of the aqua heart. It looks turquoise, at least in my view it does. It's really like an aqua color. I'm going to pull in some of those stickers again. We're going to pull in 2. And then I'm actually was debating, you can see the fingers are wiggling there. I was going to stamp a sentiment, but then I figured too much layers going on there, I probably wouldn't get it stamped right. So I'm going to pull 3 of the words from the pattern paper that we have. And it says, "Hello, sweet love." I'm going to pull in my Rose Water Jewel Nouveau drops. And we're just going to add some accents around the little hearts and the sentiment. And then I'm going to pull in where I used my Spectrum Noir as well to accent the words. So that was card number 9. For card number 10, very simple. I'm using one of the pattern papers with the conversation hearts. They already have sentiments on them, so we really don't need to add too much. I've already added the foam, the fun foam to the back, and I'm going to use my Quickie glue pen, and I'm going to cover some of these hearts with that glue pen. I don't need it to dry. I don't want it to dry, so we're not going to do any foiling here. Once I have some of the hearts covered with this glue, I'm actually going to pull in my iridescent glitter, which I get from Paper Mart. And again, just some of the hearts, excuse me, are being covered with that. So you can still see the color of the heart. You can't see the sentiment, but you can still see the color. So it's like a sugar-coated heart, I guess, maybe? I don't know. Let's just go with it. So now once those are set, now I'm going to do some more. And again, they're just all over the place. Just sporadic. And now I'm going to use the Vintage Platinum glitter. I thought I was going to have a problem. I thought it was going to mix with the iridescent, but no, it didn't. But obviously, me and coffee filters with this stuff just doesn't work because I just get glitter all over the place when I use them. I'm better with a piece of paper, but Swiffer to the works. Yes, Swiffer works. So far we have the iridescent glitter and we have the Vintage Platinum glitter on there. So because I'm not doing anything to the outside, I am going to stamp on the inside. You guys, for those of you that see my videos, I really very rarely do anything to the inside. So here I'm going to take the XO, and here's where I stated before, 1 ink pad, and I got 4 variations of the ink. Now again, it's good with a layering stamp. It's good in some cases like that. But for the most part, you can get multiple shades from 1 pad. I took one of the lip smack stickers and stuck that inside. I now have adhered. I pulled off the release tape so that I could adhere my panel down onto the pink 4 1/4, 5 1/2 top folding card base. Here I'm using my glossy accents, and I'm just going to cover some of the hearts, so some of them will have shine. So now we've got iridescent, vintage platinum, glossy, and now we're going to have sparkle, because now we pulled in the Spectrum Noir pen. I was having fun coloring the hearts. It's really cool after it dried, and again, it's a shame that the camera really doesn't pick it up, but it really does look cool when you turn that. I hope everyone enjoyed part 2 from the Simon Says January 2018 card kit. I had a lot of fun working with this. If you did, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Would love for you to stick around to see all of the different things that we're going to be creating and the new things that are going to be coming in 2018. All the products that I used outside of the kit will be listed down below with links. I will also make sure that my links, if any of you would like to follow me with my Facebook page, I do have a blog and I am connected through Blog Loving, so if you are connected on that, you can follow me there and you'll get notices when I post. They will be active and correct. Again, I thank everybody for your comments, your likes, and your feedback. Please keep it coming. Any comments that you do, put below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. So I hope everyone is having a great 2018, and always remember, be creative.